At 6:17 a.m., the world tilts without spectacle. Phones vibrate in unison, a low mechanical whisper moving through bedrooms, buses, control rooms. The alert arrives incomplete, clipped by latency and disbelief. It says only that multiple states confirm hostile engagement. No locations, no scale, just a sentence that refuses to sit still. Outside, morning behaves as usual. Light touches windows. Birds argue over wires. Inside, something fundamental loosens. In a glass-walled newsroom, Mara stands with one hand on a desk, the other hovering above a keyboard. She has edited disasters before, learned to remove adjectives when facts are thin. Today the facts resist her. Feeds contradict each other. Officials speak in placeholders. The studio clock advances, merciless. She feels the room contract. Producers breathing quietly, waiting for language sturdy enough to stand on air. Across the city, Sam hears the alert while strapping a child seat into the back of his car. He reads it twice, then a third time. Slower. The street is still damp from night rain. A neighbor pauses mid-step. Phone raised like a compass. Sam closes the car door more gently than necessary. He decides not to drive toward the office. He does not say why out loud. At the Regional Power Dispatch Center, Lena watches load graphs jitter, then stabilize. Nothing is wrong yet. That is what frightens her. Call stack without content. Managers asking if she sees anything unusual. She sees the ordinary becoming precious. She notes transformer temperatures, reroutes power preemptively. Tiny choices meant to buy time. The room hums with restraint. By 6:45 a.m., the city begins to listen to itself. Traffic lights hold green a beat too long. Elevators open onto empty lobbies. Coffee brews unattended. The first instinct is not panic, but pause, a collective intake of breath. People search faces for confirmation, then look away, embarrassed by needing it. At a hospital on the east side, Daniel finishes a night shift. The alert catches him at the exit. Scrubs folded under one arm. He stops, reads, feels fatigue sharpen into clarity. Inside, monitors beep steadily. Outside, ambulances idle, engines cooling. He turns back, not because he is ordered to, but because he knows beds will fill before explanations do. News anchors appear by 7:10, voices trained to sound like weather. They say words like developing and coordinated. They avoid verbs that end stories. Mara trims a sentence, then trims again. Silence between updates stretches, louder than any graphic. Social feeds fracture into certainty and denial. Truth lags behind fear, and fear fills the gap efficiently. By 7:30, motion resumes with purpose. Offices empty without announcements. Schools lock doors early. Highways thicken not with flight, but repositioning. Sam drives home, the radio static threading between official statements. He passes a grocery store and notes the parking lot swelling. Carts moving with unusual focus. Inside that store, shelves thin through repetition. Water, bread, batteries. No shouting. Only the soft percussion of items meeting carts. Cashiers stop making small talk. Receipts spool endlessly. An ATM stalls, then resumes, slower. Lena's phone buzzes again. Another non-question. She does not answer. At 8:40, flights pause mid-boarding. Trains hold at stations. Ports receive coded instructions, and then nothing. Movement becomes conditional. In the newsroom, a map glows with restrained color. Mara resists filling it. She watches the clock, aware that restraint itself is becoming the story. By mid-morning, people stop asking if this is real. They ask how long. Rumors adopt accents, old vocabulary resurfacing, rehearsed fears dusted off. Daniel moves between beds, hands steady. He listens to patients talk around the thing, naming groceries, children, dogs, anything but the word. At 10:30, the city feels exposed. Curtains draw. Windows close. Energy is conserved without directive. Lena dims a bank of monitors, charges a backup phone. The grid holds, but just. The hum of electricity becomes audible, a reminder that systems breathe. Near noon, leaders speak. Calm words land softly and fail to stick. The absence of detail deepens the quiet. Mara sends a segment live, then leans back, eyes closed for 3 seconds. Sam sits at his kitchen table, keys placed carefully beside a glass of water. Daniel signs his name again. Staying. Lena watches a line flatten. For now. The hours compress. Phones heat in palms. Battery percentages become forecasts. In apartments, refrigerators hum like companions. On sidewalks, conversations lower, as if volume might attract consequence. A rumor jumps borders faster than any aircraft ever did, shedding certainty with each retelling. Someone says markets will open. Someone says they will not. Both feel believable. Neither helps. Mara receives a note from Standards. Hold. Verify. Wait. She stares through the studio glass at a city waking into restraint. The camera's red light blinks, patient. Sam inventories a pantry, counts cans without writing numbers down. He texts a single word to family, then sets the phone face down. Daniel reorganizes a supply cart, labels drawers that were never labeled, finding comfort in alignment. Lena logs an anomaly that is not an anomaly yet, marking time with keystrokes. By late morning, sirens are conspicuous by their absence. The quiet sharpens edges. A bus idles, doors open, no one boarding. A radio crackles, then settles. The national heartbeat slows, perceptible if you stand still long enough. Somewhere, a switch will flip. Somewhere, a sentence will be finished. Until then, the city waits, learning how to wait together. Clouds pass unnoticed. Time acquires weight. People choose where to stand, what to save, who to trust. These are not heroic choices. They are practical, intimate, irreversible. Each decision narrows the map. Each delay redraws it. The conflict is no longer distant. It lives in kitchens, corridors, control rooms, and the space between updates. The clock keeps moving indifferent, precise. Nothing explodes. Nothing resolves. Yet by the time the clocks mark midday, each of them understands the same truth from different angles. The day is no longer a day. It is a threshold, and crossing it does not require permission. At noon the statements arrive, rehearsed and weightless, spoken from lecterns polished for continuity. Voices are calm, faces composed, promises shaped like fog. Mara watches the broadcast without blinking, marking every omission. The absence of timelines becomes a headline she cannot write. In kitchens and offices, reassurance lands flat, absorbed by silence. The words are not lies, but they are incomplete. Incompleteness spreads faster than panic. Sam turns the volume down, as if quiet might clarify intent. Outside, clouds drift indifferently. Inside, trust begins thinning, molecule by molecule. No one argues yet, but doubt quietly takes its first breath across the city together now. By early afternoon, systems feel heavier, as if gravity has increased. Internet speeds slow without failing, an intentional hesitation. Messages send twice, then arrive once late. Lena notices delays between keystroke and response, milliseconds stretching. Control rooms everywhere grow quieter. People stop multitasking. They watch loading icons like vital signs. Every pause invites speculation. Every glitch acquires meaning. Radios hiss between sentences, filling rooms with static. The infrastructure holds, but it feels brittle. Mara counts seconds aloud, testing patience, testing herself. Outside, traffic thins until intersections echo with unused possibility. No alarms sound, yet nerves tighten everywhere without visible cause today. At 3 o'clock, position replaces motion as a dominant instinct. Sam decides where night will be spent. Finally, he secures doors, checks windows, chooses rooms deliberately. The house becomes a boundary. Across the city, similar calculations occur silently. Apartments feel safer than streets. Streets feel safer than highways. Urban centers seem suddenly exposed. People draw curtains early, compressing their worlds. The afternoon light fades behind fabric. Daniel walks the hospital corridors, noticing how voices lower instinctively. Even jokes are abandoned midway. Fear does not shout. It reorganizes space. Mara senses a story narrowing, funneling toward consequence. She saves drafts without sending them yet today or tomorrow at all. By late afternoon, financial systems tighten their grip. Markets halt instead of falling. A controlled stillness. Numbers freeze on screens, stripped of drama. Cash feels heavier than digital promises. Transactions delay, approvals penned. People reassess value without instruction. Sam opens a drawer, counts bills, then closes it. The ritual is calming, faintly archaic. Lena receives a directive to conserve. She already has. Across networks, power is rerouted, balanced, whispered about. Nothing fails, yet nothing feels abundant. Daniel watches supply closets empty through anticipation alone. He orders calmly, conserving language as carefully as equipment. The shift lengthens without complaint from anyone present there. Evening approaches without ceremony. Rush hour dissolves before forming. Restaurants stay dark, chairs inverted on tables. Streets echo strangely, amplifying footsteps. Sirens remain absent, an omission that unsettles. Wind moves through intersections unchallenged. Mara leaves the newsroom briefly, standing under a dim sky. She feels observed by buildings. Windows glow unevenly as lights appear early. The city exhales, bracing. Sam cooks simply, conserving fuel, appetite dulled by vigilance. Daniel eats standing, eyes tracking monitors reflexively. Lena dims unnecessary displays, leaving only essentials illuminated. Energy becomes something borrowed, never assumed. The evening feels provisional, like a pause before weather that no forecast names yet. At 8, people ration without orders. Lights dim, chargers multiply. Screens are checked less often, more carefully. Curiosity yields to preservation. Radios become companions, voices softened by static. Mara listens between broadcasts, sensing edits in tone. The anchors sound cautious, almost reverent. Information feels fragile, easily bruised. Silence fills gaps aggressively. Sam teaches himself to sit still. Daniel walks outside briefly, noting how darkness gathers early. Lena checks backup generators, hands steady. Every watt feels counted. Every sound significant. The city's glow thins, neighborhoods blinking independently. Sleep becomes strategic, fragmented, alert. No one rests fully tonight, not even the exhausted or the hopeful. Night settles unevenly across the city. Some blocks go dark, others glare. The hum of electricity becomes audible. People notice it for the first time. Windows become stars, scattered, unreliable. Mara lies awake, phone face down. Sam listens to pipes cool. Daniel dozes in a chair between alarms. Lena logs stability, knowing stability is temporary. Midnight passes without announcement. The world does not end, which feels suspicious. Silence presses against walls. Rumors circulate in whispers, losing shape as they move. Trust becomes selective, ration like light. People begin measuring days differently. The night stretches elastic, instructive and uncomfortably revealing for everyone awake inside homes. Morning returns altered. The sun rises on restraint. Traffic remains sparse. News sounds ceremonial, careful. The absence of catastrophe feels provisional. Mara notes a shift in language, subtler now. Sam opens curtains cautiously. Daniel resumes rounds without relief. Lena watches graphs hold steady. No one relaxes. The realization settles gradually. This is not a day. It is a phase undefined. Schedules lose authority. Planning replaces reaction. Mara drafts a sentence she has avoided, then deletes it. Sam inventories patience as carefully as supplies. Daniel prepares for volume. Lena marks time, waiting for deviation. The systems endure, strained but human attention frays slowly. By late morning, the first full cycle completes. Nothing has collapsed. Innocence has. Choices made yesterday echo. The city feels narrower, more deliberate. People glance outward carefully. Community and isolation compete. Trust is tested quietly. Mara senses history hardening. Sam feels the weight of staying. Daniel observes patience speaking around fear, never naming it. Lena understands her role has shifted permanently. The conflict is no longer distant or abstract. It lives inside routines, decisions, omissions. Every small act carries consequence now. The city adapts faster than comfort allows. The speed is unsettling. It suggests endurance rather than rescue. Approaching noon again, a quiet understanding spreads. The first 24 hours are decisive, not because of fire, but adjustment. Mara prepares to say more soon. Sam realizes staying was the first commitment. Daniel braces for arrivals. Lena watches the line, waiting for its break. The world holds together, barely. Survival begins to feel conditional. Everyone senses a hinge turning. The conflict introduced at dawn now demands response. Silence no longer protects. It pressures. A choice approaches, unnamed but unavoidable. As the hour closes, each understands what comes next. The threshold waits, patient, expecting to be crossed again very soon by everyone alive. At dawn, the city wakes without surprise, which is its own shock. Light spills across buildings like a verdict already reached. Radios murmur overnight developments in careful tones. No sirens follow. The absence feels deliberate. Mara arrives at the newsroom early, carrying the night on her face. She rereads transcripts, noticing how certainty has thinned. Words now hedge instinctively. She senses the story turning inward, toward consequences rather than causes. Sam steps outside briefly, breathing cold morning air. The street looks smaller than yesterday. Neighbors exchange nods that contain entire conversations. No one asks questions. He understands the house is no longer temporary shelter, but a chosen position. Inside, rooms feel assigned roles. The kitchen is inventory. The living room is listening. He feels oddly steady, unsettled by his own calm. At the hospital, Daniel notes a subtle change. Patients arrive not in waves, but singles, carrying anxiety like a symptom. Complaints are vague. Chest tightness. Sleeplessness. He recognizes fear presenting as physiology. Staff move with economy, conserving words. Break rooms empty quickly. No one lingers. Medicine shifts from treatment to endurance. Lena watches the grid greet morning demand. Usage rises predictably, then flattens. People conserve instinctively. She feels pride and unease. Adaptation this fast suggests rehearsal. She documents stability. Knowing documentation is a kind of prayer. The system breathes evenly. She waits for the catch, the inevitable irregularity that will demand judgment. By mid-morning, attention narrows everywhere. Phones are checked less often, then deliberately. News is consumed slowly like rationed food. Mara drafts a segment that acknowledges uncertainty without feeding it. She deletes adjectives, then deletes again. Her voice on air is steady, almost gentle. She avoids speculation. She feels the audience leaning in, measuring her restraint. Sam organizes supplies, not hoarding but ordering. Each item placed feels like a decision about the future. He resists imagining duration. He focuses on today's geometry. Windows closed. Doors secured. A note taped to the fridge lists simple rules. He does not share them yet. At noon, another briefing arrives. This one is shorter. Fewer promises. More pauses. Officials speak of readiness, cooperation, vigilance. They do not say victory. The omission lands heavily. Mara feels a line cross. Language has shifted from prevention to management. She lets the silence after the broadcast run longer than usual. It says more than commentary could. Daniel overhears patients discussing the briefing in fragments. No one repeats it fully. Meaning fractures as it spreads. He adjusts staffing, anticipating volume without cause. He feels the strain settle into his shoulders. This is not crisis medicine. This is waiting medicine. He dislikes it more. Lena receives an alert, minor but real. A substation reports irregular frequency. It resolves within seconds. She logs it carefully. One deviation does not make a pattern, but it announces possibility. She realizes her job is no longer maintenance but triage. She prioritizes what must live longest. Afternoon stretches, thick with listening. Streets remain subdued. Commerce resumes selectively. Some shops open briefly, then close. Transactions feel ceremonial. Money changes hands without confidence. Sam declines an invitation to leave the block. He chooses proximity over variety. The choice feels permanent. Mara interviews an analyst who speaks slowly, choosing caution over insight. Afterward, she feels dissatisfied but relieved. The truth is not ready for clarity. She senses history compressing, like film tightening on a reel. Every frame matters now. As daylight fades, communities surface quietly. Neighbors coordinate without meetings. Shared generators. Shared meals. Shared silence. Sam participates cautiously, guarding energy. Trust becomes a resource, spent carefully. He notes who watches, who listens, who talks too much. Social maps redraw themselves. At the hospital, Daniel notices volunteers arriving without prompting. Retirees, students, people seeking usefulness. He assigns simple tasks. Order emerges from intention rather than command. The building feels heavier, grounded by purpose. He allows himself a moment of pride, then returns to vigilance. Lena stays late, eyes burning, graph steady. She thinks about redundancy, about sacrifice, which neighborhoods would go dark first if necessary. The thought is precise, not cruel. She hates herself briefly, then accepts the role. Night arrives again, less surprising. Lights dim in coordination now. The city glows faintly, intentionally. Radios fill rooms. Mara records a closing line she has been avoiding. It acknowledges endurance. She feels the weight of it leave her chest and settle elsewhere, collective. Sam sits at the table, keys still where he placed them yesterday. He realizes he has not moved them, because movement would imply departure. He chooses stillness again. Daniel finishes a shift that never ended. He steps outside, hearing the hum of a city holding together. Lena logs final readings, saving files twice. In the newsroom, emails arrive from viewers thanking her for calm, accusing her of concealment, begging for guidance she cannot give. The contrast steadies her. She understands now that narration is responsibility, not authority. Across the city, Sam hears laughter drift briefly from a nearby house and feels both comforted and irritated. Daniel watches a patient sleep and envies the simplicity of unconsciousness. Lena drinks cold coffee, noticing how fatigue sharpens her ethics. Everyone senses the same pressure, a gentle but relentless hand on the back, urging forward without direction, shaping behavior through absence. This pressure binds them more tightly than any announcement could, teaching them that survival is not an event but a disciplined practice moment by moment, mistake by mistake, in full awareness that tomorrow will demand more the same. Each breath feels counted, each decision echoing beyond private consequence. Near midnight, reports circulate of escalation elsewhere. Nothing confirmed. Everything possible. The rumor tightens the air. Mara considers going live again. Sam checks the locks. Daniel prepares beds. Lena watches the frequency line, waiting. The day closes without resolution, not with relief, with alignment. Each has chosen a posture. The conflict introduced yesterday now lives inside these choices, sustained by restraint. The world has not burned. It has adapted. And adaptation, everyone understands, is how long wars truly begin. Morning breaks with discipline rather than hope. The city no longer startles at light. It receives it like instruction. Windows glow in staggered sequence, coordinated without planning. Radios resume their low murmur. Mara reaches a newsroom before sunrise. Passing security, she now recognizes by first name. Familiarity has replaced ceremony. She feels the story tightening again, not toward spectacle, but toward consequence. Inside, the editorial floor hums softly. Screens show maps stripped of color. Overnight developments are minimal yet unsettling. Words like sustained and ongoing appear more often. She edits with surgical restraint, aware that every syllable shapes posture. The audience no longer wants reassurance. They want orientation. She feels the weight of that shift settle behind her eyes. Sam wakes before the alarm. The house is quiet but purposeful. He moves through rooms checking nothing in particular, reassured by repetition. Outside, a delivery truck passes slowly, like a reconnaissance vehicle. He notes it, then lets it go. Attention is a limited resource now. He saves it for decisions that matter. At the hospital, Daniel greets a longer intake list. Still no surge, but density increases. Patients linger, reluctant to leave controlled spaces. Complaints blur together. Anxiety disguises itself as pain. He adapts protocols subtly, building slack into schedules. Medicine becomes choreography, every movement conserving energy. Lena reviews overnight logs. Minor instabilities resolved without intervention. She knows this is a dangerous part. Systems often fail after demonstrating resilience. She briefs her team with calm precision, emphasizing rest as strategy. Burnout will be catastrophic. She sends people home reluctantly, trusting redundancy she helped design years ago. By mid-morning, communication narrows further. Official channels dominate. Social noise thins as people self-censor. Mara notices fewer hot takes, more silence. She fills it carefully, narrating process instead of prediction. Viewers respond differently now. They listen. Sam steps onto the porch, exchanges a glance with a neighbor. No words. The street feels claimed, no longer anonymous. He realizes community is formed without consensus, shaped by proximity and need. It comforts him and makes him cautious. Daniel supervises a drill that no one names. Staff move with practiced urgency. Supplies are checked, then checked again. The repetition steadies nerves. He recognizes leadership as tone rather than command. His calm becomes contagious. Lena receives a secure message marked priority. Another grid, another country, reports failure. No details. She absorbs the information without reaction, filing it away. The conflict widens without approaching. Distance feels deceptive. At noon, another briefing. Shorter still. Officials acknowledge strain. They speak of continuity plans. The language is hardened. Mara feels a narrative pivot from if to how long. She lets the broadcast end without commentary. The silence does the work. Sam listens from the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug gone cold. He feels the house settle around him, supportive and confining. He considers leaving again, then dismisses it. Movement now implies risk. Daniel watches families cluster in hallways, conversations hushed. He feels questions he cannot answer, offering presence instead. It feels insufficient, but it holds. Lena studies projections, modeling sacrifice. If shortages spread, some areas will dim to preserve others. She does not know which yet. The responsibility tightens her chest. Afternoon brings a change in weather. Clouds thicken, muting light. The city darkens early. Shops close again. Transactions pause mid-gesture. Sam helps a neighbor secure a loose gate. The act feels symbolic, absurdly important. Mara drafts a piece on adaptation, then hesitates. Framing matters. Endurance can sound like surrender. She reworks the angle, emphasizing agency without promise. It feels honest. Daniel receives word of a transfer delay. Transportation bottlenecks ripple inward. He reorganizes beds preemptively. Waiting becomes active. Lena's team reports a frequency drop that does not correct itself immediately. She intervenes, rerouting power. The lights flicker across several districts, then stabilize. She exhales slowly. The system holds, but the effort is visible now. As evening approaches, the city responds. Lights dim in waves. Generators hum in basements. Radios rise in volume. The shared awareness thickens. People sense the margin shrinking. Mara goes live briefly, acknowledging the flicker without amplifying fear. Her voice steadies the room. She understands now that narration is containment. Sam sits with neighbors on stoops, spacing careful. Conversation stays practical. Who has water? Who has tools? Who checks on whom? Trust is extended conditionally, like credit. Daniel ends a shift and immediately begins another. Fatigue sharpens perception. He notices small mercies. A smile. A successful procedure. They feel amplified. Lena remains at her station as night falls. She watches demand curves flatten, unnatural but intentional. The city is cooperating with itself. She did not expect that. Midnight approaches again. Reports confirm escalation elsewhere. Still distant. Still consequential. Mara prepares copy she hopes not to read. Sam locks the door, feeling the click resonate. Daniel readies intake. Lena watches the grid breathe. The day closes heavier than it began. Not with fear, but with commitment. Each has chosen a role. The conflict no longer asks for attention. It demands maintenance. As the clocks reset, they all understand the same thing without saying it. The next phase will not announce itself. It will arrive quietly, carried by routine, and nothing practiced today will be optional tomorrow. Morning returns with thinner light, as if filtered through restraint rather than clouds. The city accepts it without ceremony. Mara arrives before the cameras warm, coat still on, coffee untouched. Overnight briefs sit unread because she already senses their tone. The story has stopped accelerating and begun to settle, which frightens her more. Settlement implies duration. Duration implies cost. Sam wakes to a quiet house that feels permanently rearranged. Furniture has not moved, yet purpose has. He listens before opening his eyes, cataloging sounds. Power hum, water pipes, distant traffic, all present, all conditional. He rises carefully, aware that routine has become armor. Each repeated action reinforces a decision to stay, to hold ground. At the hospital, Daniel scans a board and notes the shift from acute to persistent. Fewer emergencies, more endurance. Patients arrive tired rather than injured. The staff mirrors them. He adjusts rotations, protecting stamina. Leadership now means preventing collapse through boredom as much as panic. He speaks softly, deliberately, shaping mood through cadence. Lena reads the night logs with narrowed focus. Stability holds, but margins thin. Redundancy absorbs stress invisibly, which worries her. Systems fail after prolonged obedience, not rebellion. She flags several nodes for observation, resisting the urge to intervene prematurely. Control requires patience. By mid-morning, communication habits have changed. Messages are shorter, calls fewer. People conserve attention instinctively. Mara edits a segment that explains nothing new yet contextualizes everything. She speaks of continuity, of infrastructure breathing under strain. Viewers respond with silence, which she interprets as listening. Sam steps outside to check the street. A neighbor waters plants despite uncertainty. The gesture feels defiant, hopeful, unnecessary. He watches, then mirrors it. Small acts anchor time. He realizes he is measuring days by behaviors rather than dates. Daniel oversees the supply count. Numbers are adequate, but no longer generous. He makes notes, prioritizing adaptability. The hospital feels like a ship trimming sails. He wonders how long morale can float on professionalism alone. Lena attends a briefing that confirms disruptions abroad. Transmission failures. Rolling outages. The distance provides no comfort. Interconnection turns geography into illusion. She recalculates priorities, knowing each choice redistributes risk. The ethical weight settles quietly. At noon, official updates acknowledge sustained conflict. The phrasing has crystallized. No more hypothetical language. Mara lets the broadcast breathe. She senses the audience recalibrating expectations. The future has narrowed into a corridor. She frames it honestly, resisting both alarm and reassurance. Sam listens from the kitchen, absorbing the words without reaction. He feels the house answer for him. Leaving now would fracture something essential. Staying has become identity. He texts a neighbor about shared resources. The reply arrives quickly. Agreement without discussion. Daniel fields questions from patients about timelines. He offers none. He offers presence. It feels insufficient, but it holds. People accept it, which unsettles him. Acceptance can be strength or surrender. He watches carefully. Lena notices demand curves shifting earlier each day. Conservation is spreading organically. She feels a surge of pride followed by dread. Adaptation, the smooth, suggests long rehearsal, conscious or not. She documents the trend, preparing for scrutiny. Afternoon light dulls. Clouds press low. The city responds by dimming, intentionally. Shops open briefly, then close. Transactions become cautious rituals. Sam helps secure a window for an elderly neighbor. The action feels heavier than its weight. Mara reviews footage from earlier days. The contrast is stark. Voices louder. Movements faster. She archives it carefully. Evidence of a world already receding. She wonders when nostalgia will become dangerous. Daniel notices volunteers thinning. Fatigue asserts itself. He rotates duties again, trading efficiency for sustainability. Medicine becomes an exercise in patience. He hates that he is good at this. Lena receives confirmation of another near miss. A frequency dip corrected seconds before cascading. She intervened early. She debates whether restraint would have been wiser. There is no feedback loop for prevention. Evening arrives with a practice hush. Neighborhoods coordinate light usage. Radios fill living rooms. Mara goes live briefly, acknowledging strain without dramatizing it. Her voice steadies practice and sincere. She understands now that calm is an active force. Sam shares a meal with neighbors. Portions modest. Conversation stays practical. Who has tools? Who checks on whom? Trust extends in measured increments. Community forms without ceremony. Daniel completes another shift and begins planning the next. Sleep becomes optional, guiltless. He notices his hands, steady despite exhaustion. Purpose sharpens him. Lena stays late, eyes fixed on lines that refuse to break. She imagines a sound of failure, a silence deeper than darkness. She works to keep it hypothetical. As night deepens, reports circulate of expanded engagements. Still distant. Still shaping choices here. Mara prepares copy she hopes will never air. Sam locks the door with intention. Daniel readies intake. Lena watches the grid breathe. The day closes not with fear, but with resolve. Each has adapted posture to pressure. The conflict no longer announces itself. It persists. As clocks reset, they share an unspoken understanding. Tomorrow will not escalate suddenly. It will continue. And continuation, they know now, is the heaviest test of all.